Well, hey there, everyone. I've enjoyed going through all these different parables with you during this series, and now we reach the end. We're going to wrap up by looking at two parables that will probably be familiar to each of you, the parable of the minas and the parable of the talents. As Jesus was getting closer to the end of his ministry and his crucifixion, he started telling his disciples more parables about what kind of lives we should live once he was gone. They had seen so much from him, so many miracles, so many sermons. What would life look like without him by their side? The parable of the minas and the parable of the talents have very similar themes. In both cases, a wealthy person or a ruler leave for a while, and the servants are left in charge of things. Each of the servants are given quite a bit of money and are told to put it to good use. The command is simple: be productive. The parable of the minas, each servant is given the same amount, and in the parable of the talents, they are each given different amounts, with more money given to servants who had proven more reliable and capable in the past. In each parable, the servants go out and put the money to good use, and when their master returns, they bring him the profits they made. Some doubled their money, some earn even more than that. However, in both versions of this parable, there is one servant who decides not to do anything with the money. He buries it in the ground to keep it safe and then returns it to the master once the master is back. In both cases, the servant has the same excuse. I know you're a hard man. You take things you didn't work for. I'm afraid of you, so I kept that money buried over there, and here it is. I'm giving it back. I think there's a reason Jesus gives two different versions of this parable. Each version tells us something different about how God blesses us in this life. In one, the master gives everyone the same amount. Each servant gets one mina. This represents the fact that some things in life we all equally receive from God. We each get 24 hours in the day. We each have the same oxygen to breathe, and we all have a voice to share God's word with others in some way. But the other version of this parable shows that God does give some of us more to use than others, and when much is given, much is required. If God gives us more resources to work with, maybe more money or more wisdom or more influence, I have an obligation to use that for God's kingdom and not just myself. Then there's this guy who just buries what was given to him in the ground. He doesn't use it for anything productive. This represents a person who goes through life focused just on their own wants and comfort. Today, it might be a person who uses all their intellect and skills to become wealthy or powerful, meanwhile not caring about God or about others. The servant in this parable sees this time with the boss being away as a chance for an extended vacation, just to have fun and not care about anyone else. Having responsibilities just sounds boring, and definitely too much work. Just enjoy life and get as much stuff for yourself as you can. But in the end of these parables, we see that the one who was hurt most by this laziness is actually the servant himself. Despite the accusation from the lazy servant that the master was just going to steal whatever he had worked for, all the other servants got to keep the results of their labor, whether they earned a little or earned a lot, and were even given more rewards and promotions on top of what they worked for. Jesus is showing us that a life focused on the eternal things really does have rewards that far outweigh what we were initially given, both rewards here on earth as well as in heaven. The lazy servant, however, doesn't get to keep anything, even the thing he was originally given. If he couldn't be trusted to wisely use a small amount, he's not going to be given any more. He missed out on the opportunity. Jesus concludes this parable by saying that whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. But whoever doesn't have, even what they have will be taken away from them. For those who spend their whole lives trying to gain temporary material things, they'll have nothing waiting for them in heaven when they die. The little they did have will be left behind. As Jesus is preparing to be crucified, he wants to make sure his followers know that there will be opportunities to continue the work after he's gone. They've been following Jesus for years, learning from him. What are they going to do with the lessons they've learned and the miracles they've seen? Are they going to go back to their ordinary lives as fishermen or farmers? Or are they going to invest their lives in something greater, something with eternal significance? Jesus doesn't expect all of us to be the Apostle Paul or the Apostle Peter, but he wants all of us to do something with the lives we're given. Maybe it's healing the sick or the hurting. Maybe it's taking care of the poor and the needy. Maybe it's going to a place you've never been to and telling people about Jesus. Maybe it's making a little YouTube video on something Jesus taught so other people can learn. Or maybe for some of you, right now it's just studying hard and learning, growing in knowledge and wisdom and compassion. Whatever it is, do it with the mindset that God is watching, that God is providing us with the things we need to do the work he wants us to do. God is eager to reward us as we use his gifts wisely. So let's not be lazy and bury our talents in the ground to be wasted. Instead, live every day knowing that Jesus will one day bring us to heaven with him, and that the difficulties and struggles we go through now won't be for nothing. And that's it for our series on the parables of Jesus. We're taking a break this Sunday, and instead we'll get together, have a little fun activity after church. So let me know if you can make it. Hopefully, see everyone soon. And as always, if you ever need anything, I'm one phone call away. I think the guy who buries the money in the ground missed out on a huge opportunity. If you're going to bury something, you at least need to make a treasure map and have a treasure hunt, right? The boss comes back, the servant says, "Hey, I know you've been working too hard. I set up a fun treasure hunt for you. Get the whole family, get the kids, and go out and have a fun day." Or maybe have a big contest and everyone has to buy a ticket, and then you go and you go on a treasure hunt and you make money that way or something. I bet if he did that, he probably wouldn't have gotten in as much trouble as he did.